Hey everybody, thanks for taking a minute to watch this video. I really appreciate your time. My name is Adam Baus, and I have been working with Trained Up over the last couple of days to walk through some thoughts on self-awareness. And the reason we're doing that is because we really want to help leaders grow. We want to help them be effective in their jobs, but we also want to help them to be healthy as individuals, as people, and as leaders. So we're talking about self-awareness because I wholeheartedly believe that all growth begins with self-awareness. There are good things inside of us, and if we aren't aware of those things, we can't offer them. There are broken things inside of us, and if we aren't aware of that, we can't fix those things either. And so I really, truly believe that spending time to practice self-awareness, to develop self-awareness, to get better at it is really, really important. That you can spend a ton of time developing all kinds of other skills, but you're going to see a limited impact unless you really sit down, you're honest with yourself, including the good and the bad, and you really get to an understanding of what it is that you believe, what you think, what you feel, because out of all of those things come our behaviors, come our actions, become the person that everyone else sees with and has to deal with. And so we've been talking about this. What does it look like? How do we do it? Why does it matter? And I thought I'd take a few minutes here on video to sort of expound on some of these ideas, to give some more practical examples, and then also point you to some resources that I think can be really helpful for you as you are on this journey of being a leader and trying to figure out what does it mean to be a good leader, and trying to do it in a way that's healthy, sustainable, and to become more self-aware. So I thought I would share a story from my own journey as a leader and as a manager that might help you, and you might be able to relate to as well. So when I look back and I think about the season of life where I was first stepping into my management roles and into leadership for the first time, I had no idea what I was doing. Maybe you can relate to that. You sort of have to figure out what you're doing on the go, on the job. And when we're in situations like that, when I was in that situation, you sort of just intuitively do what you think is the right thing to do. Like you do what you think is right, what feels right, what seems right to you, and you sort of learn by trial and error, right? Well, when I was doing that, sort of intuitively doing what I thought felt right, as a leader, I thought what would make me a great leader was that I would be supportive, I would be encouraging, I would be positive, and that I'd be understanding. I thought those were the characteristics of a great leader. As I look back and I think about, okay, why did I think that? I didn't necessarily know this in the time, but when I look back now, I would say, oh, I had some other bad bosses or bad managers who didn't offer those things to me, who weren't encouraging, who weren't supportive, who weren't understanding. And so I wanted those things. Those are things that I wanted. And so I sort of naturally assumed everybody else wants that too. So that's the kind of leader I'm going to be, and that's what will make me a great leader. Well, after I'd been a manager and a leader for a while, I had a 360 evaluation. Very common in a lot of organizations to have all of your individual team members do an evaluation of you as a manager. How are you on this skill? How are you at this? And you get that feedback, sort of a lot of average points, but then also some open-ended responses. And most of mine was really positive, lots of stuff that I expected to hear. But the area where I didn't see it coming, where you sort of get the 2x4 up against the head, was in the area of follow-through. My team told me, hey, Adam doesn't always do what he says he's going to do. Now, some of you are thinking, how could you not do what you say you're going to do? Aren't you responsible? That's what leaders do. They do what they say they're going to do. They follow through. Well, I would follow through, but sometimes it would take 2 or 3 reminders for me to follow through because I'm not necessarily a naturally detail-oriented person. I'm not the person who's in the weeds constantly thinking about all the steps between 2 destinations. But my team was telling me, hey, Adam doesn't always follow through with what he does. And I recognized immediately that's a huge problem. And that was an area of self-awareness that I did not have. I did not know that I was bad at follow-through, and I especially didn't know that I was bad at it in a way that my team noticed. So my team telling me that was a huge gift because all of a sudden I'm aware of it and now I can focus on it. So for me, that meant instead of just sort of walking into a meeting, having a good conversation, encouraging people, and then walking out, I was more intentional to say, okay, what are my action steps walking out of this meeting? And I would start to work more intentionally on following through on key points. And at that point, I was able to measure my effectiveness as a leader, not just am I encouraging, am I supportive, because those are good things, but also am I following through? Am I doing the things that my team needs me to do and that I said I would do for them? So that was a huge area of growth for me, something that I've taken with me throughout my journey as a leader and in leading other people, is redefining that definition of what do I think a great leader is? What do I want to be as a leader? And as I become more aware of that mental picture in my head of what does a leader look like, the more I can be aware of where I have flaws, or where I have deficits, where I have gaps in between, what I think I need to be and what I'm actually doing. Now, when we understand what's going on inside of us, our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, only at that point can we change the way we live, and therefore the impact we have on other people. Whether you're a formal leader with a title and a position, or an informal leader who influences the people around you as part of your team, self-awareness is huge because you're impacting other people every step of the way. So if we're leading out of who we are, it's not necessarily what we do as much as who we are that determines how effective we are as leaders. Then we have to understand and develop who we are. It's essential for leaders to do that. There are lots of other skills and things that you can do, but it's all going to be diminished if you don't have self-awareness, if you're not aware of what you think and what you feel and what you believe. So here are a couple questions that you can think about to start practicing self-awareness. Very simple, very straightforward, and it may seem like too simple, too straightforward, but trust me on this, okay? So ask yourself, what does it look like when I'm stressed out? How do you know, how do I know when I'm feeling stressed out? For me, I internalize. I sort of shut down communication. I get stuck in my head. I start thinking worst case scenarios. What happens if I can't get all of this done? What happens if I do it and I do it the wrong way? When I can catch myself and I go, oh, I'm thinking worst case scenario mode, usually that means I'm stressed out. And then I can say, okay, I feel stressed out. Should I be stressed out or should I not? And if I am genuinely stressed out for good reason, then I can think about what I do with that energy. Instead of just sort of being under its control, I all of a sudden observe, hey, I'm stressed out. What's the best way for me to handle this right now? You can also ask yourself, what does it look like when I feel sad? What does it look like when I feel happy? Because what we have to understand is that our emotions are trying to tell us something. A lot of people, emotions are messy and they're unnecessary and you need to avoid them. But no, all of the brain research science comes out and says that emotions are trying to tell you something. They're data, they're information that can help you understand the world around you. But more importantly, they help you understand what's going on inside of you. So ask yourself these questions to get that sense of understanding of what's the story that you're telling yourself that's leading to the feeling, that's leading to the emotion that you're experiencing. Here's another question that sort of flips the script a little bit. How do other people know when you're feeling stressed out, right? Like you might have your own sense of awareness of, you know what your tipping point is for, oh man, I'm feeling stressed out now. That's my cue. But other people might have a different perspective on that, right? Ask your wife. How does your wife know when you are feeling really worried about something? Or how does your best friend know when you're just feeling depressed and you feel defeated and that you've lost the game? Other people have really helpful perspectives, and they may not have 100% accurate perspectives, but they experience you in a way that can help you develop your own sense of awareness of, oh gosh, I didn't realize people could pick up on that. I thought I was hiding it. I oftentimes think that I'm hiding more than I actually am. People tell me all the time, hey, what's going on? And I go, oh gosh, how did you know? How did you know? Or the look on my face, or the way I was walking, or the lack of communication. Those are all tells for me. People can tell me when I'm doing those things. So use other people to help you develop self-awareness as well. When I think about emotions having an impact on me, I really think about decision making. I can make good decisions just like you can, just like anybody else can. But oftentimes when I feel stuck in a decision, whether it's, let me give you this example. In my personal life with my wife, when we are trying to decide what's for dinner this next week, she's going to the grocery store on Saturday. Hey, what do you want to have for dinner? I actually can get stuck on that question pretty easily. I actually most oftentimes don't answer it because I want to get the answer right. And so when she says, what's for dinner on Wednesday? I think, how would I know? I don't know what I'm going to feel like on Wednesday. I don't know what's going to sound good on Wednesday because today's Saturday, which sounds ridiculous to most people. But there's an emotion inside of me that goes, hey, we want to get this right. But what I've learned to do is to sort of catch myself when I'm stuck in a decision and to say, okay, I'm stuck in a decision and it's probably because I want to get it right. But how important is it that I get this right? Right? Like if I decide Taco Tuesday or Spaghetti Wednesday, but I get to Tuesday or Wednesday and I decide that doesn't sound good, it probably doesn't matter that I got that wrong. We can make an audible and we can change what we're eating for dinner. There are other decisions where it's actually really important to get things right. And so that hesitancy to make a decision is actually serving me well. The problem is that there are a lot of decisions that just don't matter that much. And so delaying that decision, holding it off, being at a standstill, it's just not necessary. And that's something that I've had to develop over time, is catching myself, man, why I'm holding up this decision, aren't I? Why am I holding it up? And is there a way that I can make this decision so that we can just keep the ball moving forward? Is there a way that I can sort of short circuit that desire to get things right? That's something that I'm working on daily. That's something that I honestly want to get better at as I continue to go as a leader. So these are some things for you to think about. What does it look like when you're stressed? What does it look like when you're sad? How do other people notice when you're feeling stressed or worried, depressed, or dejected? These are questions that you can ask on a daily basis, that you can ask in the middle of a meeting, and just sort of start to get that sense of self-awareness. What we're going to do next is I'm going to send you a PDF tomorrow that will include some of these questions, but also a list of other questions that are great at helping you gain a sense of self-awareness, to start practicing an understanding of what's going on inside, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your feelings, because these are the things that sort of drive our decisions, that drive our behaviors. Honestly, there's a book out there that talks about how 40% of what you do every day is a habit. And most of the time when we develop a habit, it's because it feels good, it feels right, it becomes sort of normalized over time, and it becomes really hard to change those habits. So we have to practice awareness to know what we've automated, to figure out, man, I always push off making that decision, and that's just a habit, but I don't actually have to keep doing things that way. I can change and I can grow, but it all begins with self-awareness. So look for that email tomorrow. I'll send you that PDF. It'll have some great information that I think will be really, really helpful for you